Go alone and kiss. Get lost, become blind, see the dead. Fear not, do not sway. Your desires lie just ahead. They walk into the waterfall. Even with the early schedule, they don't make it behind the roaring spray until noon. The view beyond the grove in which they slept is obscured by trees and a haze of heat. I guess we wait. Behind the waterfall is a shallow cave, no bigger than last night's camp, straddling somewhere the line between constructed and naturally occurred. Bakugo is running his hands along the stone, looking at notes from the crew's musings over the poems, frowning in his thought. For sundown, yeah. Evening light. And so they wait. Kirishima scratches patterns into the dirt at his feet, which turns into a knots and crosses game with Sero. They talk, they nap, they think that the adventure should be more perilous than this, though Kirishima is happy for the slow going. He thinks that's important sometimes. Going slow is definitely a part of the adventure. If you do too much at once, you would forget why you do it. There was always something to see and do, but sometimes closing your eyes and taking it easy was as enjoyable as anything else. Besides, whatever was yet to come could have them wishing back for this moment. Eventually, the evening light comes. It filters orange through the waterfall, gentle at first, almost unnoticed in its subtlety. Eventually, Kirishima becomes aware of the way the water makes the sun glitter across the floor, like a gem broken into uncountable pieces, dancing first on the ground and then sparkling its way to the uneven crags of patterned rock walls. There's a pattern. Bakugo stands up. He had been silent for most of the day, stuck in thought. It wasn't that nobody dared to interrupt. It was that they didn't want to disturb him. I thought so too. The rocks all fit into each other. No, not that. Bakugo steps towards the wall. You see where the shadows are? The light doesn't hit them the same way. Kirishima stands up too, and then so does the rest of the crew, inspecting the back wall as the glittering grows more circular around the rocks, now with the illumination seeming more protruded than before. Mina narrows her eyes, but doesn't step closer. It looks like it's responding. To the light, I mean.
Nothing's reflecting off this. Something is taking in the light.
What do we do? Sero reaches out above him to touch the spot, and he draws it back with a yelp. Mina screams in turn and jumps back behind Kirishima, fingers scrunching the shoulder of his shirt into her fists. Kidding. Mina shrieks again, this time at Sero, reaching an ill-aimed fist to hit his arm. Kirishima laughs, but Bakugo is inspecting the stone Sero touched, albeit with a grin on his face.
Think it moved.
He reaches up too and gently presses the stone. It does seem to shift beneath his fingers, though not much.
How'd we miss this before? Is it the light? Does it make it different?
Kirishima goes to the one beside him and tries. It's almost imperceptible, but the stone is definitely loose. It feels more like pressing down on a lump beneath your skin, a bruise or a healing scab, flat for a moment, only to rise up again in its healing process. Listen. Hatsume, like Bakugo, had been surprisingly silent through the wait in the cave, looking at the walls and stone, picking at cracks in the dirt. What are we listening for? The waterfall is lighter. It's stopping. The crew looked around at one another, locking eyes at the realization. Is that a good thing? I don't know. Evening light to show. The sun will come through in full if the waterfall stops.
Then these markings will be gone.
Bakugo's voice tilts up in urgency as he finishes his sentence. Kirishima feels the rush in his fingertips as they look to Bakugo for instruction. The waterfall hadn't stopped last night, had it? Kirishima doesn't remember recalling the lack of sound, but for whatever reason, whatever potential blessing, something was happening now, and they were here now, so it had to be now.
Everyone hands up. Let's try to press these stones in, all at once at first, I suppose.
Kirishima presses his in again and looks out of the corner of his eyes to the others. When Hatsume presses in the last one near her feet, nothing happens. And then something happens. Kirishima feels the stone give way beneath his hands and stumbles forward a little. The waterfall is still running, but sounds more like a small river than the roar it was before.
Back, back!
Bakugo shouts, arms out, pushing Kirishima's chest, forcing him to step away from the wall. Kirishima sees it now. the water trickling down the stones before them. They move closer together, and Bakugo reaches for Kirishima's hand as the stone before them, inexplicably, against all they know and could ever dream of, starts to move. It's slow at first, but as the water starts rushing faster, barreling into the ground before them, the stone moves, snake-like behind the falls, pummeling two into the earth. The ground shakes, and Kirishima grabs Serao next to him as well, gripped tight and fearful, but he can't bring himself to shout. It stops. Kirishima feels unreal. He touches at the event in his mind, but to question it would be senseless. Comprehension of this was beyond the mind, and he leaves it be, there with the things one must not think about too hard lest he goes mad. The water before them rushes and rushes until it goes so fast it appears to stop. Behind it all is darkness. Before them now is a mirror. Kirishima sees them all, clearer than ever before, all huddled together, holding on to one another in fear and awe. All eyes turn to Bakugo. It's almost comical, but no one can speak. Who could after that? What the fuck? Okay, Mina could. Kirishima should have known. Bakugo steps forward, but he doesn't let go of Kirishima's hand. Kirishima looks at him through the mirror, then he looks at himself, all of them. And suddenly, in seeing his reflection, not done up for a party, not in his best clothes, he sees himself. Pirate, part of something he believes in. Ragged, dirty, strong, wild. Not what he expected, but not at all unpleasant. Bakugo touches the surface, and his fingers slip through. Mina makes a warning sound against it. Kirishima steps forward too. Bakugo takes his hand away. It's not wet. This is insane. No one gonna talk about it? This is fucking crazy. It's amazing. Hatsume agrees. But let's talk about it later, hun. Fucking crazy. Kirishima puts his hand against the water, copying Bakugo's second touch. But there's no give.
We have to go alone. One at a time.
Alone. The worry is obvious in Mina's voice. Bakugo looks back at the crew, and Kirishima feels some of Mina's worry slither into his stomach.
You don't have to come. That's our way and always has been. You're free. You can follow me as long as you please. I'll guide you to where you wish to go, and do my best to provide you with gainful excursion. But this has been for the greater part my quest, and you've indulged me your loyalty. But remember your freedom too.
Oh, come off it. Mina steps forward. You know we're with you. Don't be so sentimental. Doesn't suit you.
Some have stayed longer than I even wanted them to.
Bakugo says in the same tone, but more wistful, and Mina clicks her tongue. She's right, Captain. Doesn't suit you. Bakugo grins, and for the first time, publicly, he looks embarrassed. Kirishima laughs a little, which earns him the finger.
Alright, fuck all of you then. Especially you, Mina. We'll meet back up on the other side. Don't you dare get lost on me.
Bakugo grabs Kirishima's arm quickly, pulling him in for a hard kiss. He stares at him when he pulls away, Kirishima's cheeks burning, his heart a knot of uncertainty and excitement. That was it, though. That was always what it was. A life he chose to live, the love he let himself feel. He grins. Bakugo nods at the crew and turns around, walking into the watery mirror. His face connects with his face, his hands with his hands, his body with his body, until he absorbs himself fully into his reflection, the darkness, the unknown. Go alone and kiss.